Of late, inside the My Hero community, I've seen a few discussions surrounding the strength of the characters inside the verse, and I was pretty surprised to see at how many people thought that a certain matchup was very 50-50. When I first saw this, I thought this was going to be a one-time thing, but it just kept popping up, over and over and over, and that's when I was like, you know what? Why don't I just take it upon myself to see who'd actually win? So as you can tell by the title of thumbnail, the two people that are going to be fighting today are going to be Katsuki Bakugo and Cathleen Bate, or better known as Stars and Stripes. So strap in, because I'm going to get real in depth with this video. But before I get into the video, if you guys enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support, and I give it back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's My Hero, other anime, or just fiction in general, in due time I'm covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough at this point, so why don't we jump straight into the video and find out who is stronger. Is it the explosive dynamite, or is it America's strongest hero, Stars and Stripes? Before I do any sort of scaling, we have to go over the rules so you guys know what I'm doing this by. Now the rules won't be anything too complicated. The first rule will be that both of them will be in their prime / at their peak of strength. Meaning, yes, I'll be using aged up Bakugo, but since we don't know anything about him, I'm just gonna use War Up Bakugo stats and just add it onto him, and obviously here he'll be healed, so yeah, he'll be at full strength. The second rule is that both of them will be going all out, and they'll be looking to end the fight as soon as possible. The third rule is that they'll both be fighting with the knowledge they already have on each other, and the fourth and final rule will dictate where this fight is taking place, and it's going to take place somewhere in Japan. So with that being said, I feel like I've covered everything I need to cover, so why don't I jump straight into their scaling. As well, to begin the scaling section of this video, we're going to go over Bakugo. And to start off this section, we're going to go over his AP. Now all throughout the series, Bakugo's AP has been a massive focal point, as letting off explosions does make you seem like a walking nuke, which in reality is actually child's play to what he can do. But either way, Bakugo's patrol for AP throughout the series has been great. From him being able to easily destroy robots inside the entrance exam, to him blowing up the entire corridor him and Midoriya were in, to his first howitzer impact, to him being able to stop All Might for a moment inside the final exams, and so on and so forth, Bakugo's AP has always been great. And inside of the war arc, we see him use that AP, and he does perform this massive feat, and this one right here as well. But when against the top tiers like All For One and Shigaraki, they merely say it's not enough, or just say that other characters are better than him. Against Shigaraki, he himself says that it's not enough, and even after seemingly getting another buff, he doesn't really do anything. Against All For One literally states that Endeavor and Tokuyami have superior AP to him, and this comes from an arguably weaker All For One from the one that they fought, and that is definitely something we're gonna have to take into consideration for later. And by no means am I saying his AP is bad. I'm just saying at the highest level, it doesn't match up to other characters. But moving on, we're gonna go over a stat that he surprisingly excels at, and that's his speed. Now during the series, his speed was notable, but I wouldn't say it was his main focus, as Bakugo had okay speed feats, like being able to react to a holding back All Might, or being able to keep up with a 45% Deku. But what really took him to the next level was his quirk awakening. During the first war arc, Bakugo awakened his quirk and was able to save Deku from Tomura's tendrils. The reason this is really important is because the tendrils were about to hit Izuku, but Bakugo was fast enough to push him out of the way and be hit by them. Now his speed gets even crazier, as after having his ass handed to him by Shigaraki, he goes back in, and Shigaraki himself says that Bakugo's become fast, and that's something we're gonna have to take into consideration. But the glaze for his speed doesn't stop here, as All Might backs this up, and even Bakugo himself notices how fast he's gotten. And with him being able to keep up with All For One as well, it's just very clear that he's a top tier when it comes down to his speed, as he does have the feats and he does have the statements to back it up. So why don't we jump straight into his durability. And we can say that Bakugo does have really good durability, as he was able to take punches from a holding back All Might from as early on as the final exam, and we just know that humans inside of My Hero aren't normal. Now here is where I usually stick in a few more durability feats for him, but later on inside the series, Bakugo either goes up against attacks that puncture his skin, characters who rival Prime All Might, meaning we don't actually get to see to what extent he can tank before his skin or just he gets damaged overall. But there is something I'd like to add on to his durability that does pertain to his quirk. Now it is common knowledge that aside from his palms, his body isn't immune to his explosions, and during his final battle we do see him use his explosions on his body, and he does comment that he does take damage from it, meaning he can tank his own explosions, also meaning that his durability does scale around to his explosions. So in Ugabuga language, yes, his AP and durability should be similar. And since I was just talking about him being able to endure the pain of his explosions, why don't I go into his greatest stat, and that's his endurance. Throughout the series, his endurance really hadn't been focused on that much. Like, yes, we did know that he was down and ready to get dirty whenever, but we never really truly got a real gauge on how much he'd be willing to endure until the war arc. During the final war, aside from his speed, his endurance was put on full display. From him being able to take Shigaraki crushing his right arm and then manhandling him, to him then getting back up and then fighting through the pain to only have his heart punctured, and then him lying there on the floor, bleeding out, and then being revived to then only fight again. This would be enough to put him at that top level in terms of endurance, but he continues to fight with a broken and busted arm, and mind you, he's only dealing more damage to it since he's continuously using his quirk. And remember, his heart was being strained the more he would use his quirk as well, but then he goes on to then defeat All For One. On top of that, yeah, Bakugo in this stat is a complete monster. War Arc really did show us that Bakugo has amazing stamina, and most of all, his pain tolerance is through the roof, allowing us to conclude that yes, his endurance is amazing. Following up on his great endurance, we have his battle IQ, and this is another stat he is really great in. From him being able to shut down Kurogiri from as early as the beginning of the series, to then him being able to study Shigaraki's moves in the War Arc and counter them in real time, it's safe to say that he's an absolute demon in this category. And if I'm being honest, especially from what we saw in Heroes Rising, I wouldn't put it past Bakugo to even have a superior battle IQ to someone like Deku, and we all know how smart Deku is, so that is extremely impressive. Finally, we have Bakugo's hacks, and it's just mainly his quirk. Bakugo does have his gauntlets that do allow him to store up his sweat and obviously allow him to fire a massive explosion at once, but as you just heard, it's all based around his quirk, so why don't I jump straight into his quirk. Also, last thing before I do cover his quirk, the suit that he was wearing in the War Arc won't be used here as well. It wasn't in his final design, it was a different suit, so that's why I'm not going to be including all the little gadgets that were surrounding him. But yeah, that's just a little heads up for anybody that may be wondering. But finally, to end off Bakugo's section, we're going to go over his explosion quirk. And the concept behind this quirk is pretty simple. He produces natural glycerin like sweat that he can explode. Now that's just his base quirk, as his awakened quirk allows him to throw sweat in places, essentially making it become like mines, and once triggered they can explode. The reason I call them mines is because he can't activate them himself, but once somebody touches it, like when All For One touched it, they basically just explode. And through his awakening, he's able to use cluster moves, and they're just stronger and faster versions of his old moves. The best example of this would be his cluster howitzer impact. Now you could make an argument that he should be able to do everything here better since he is in better condition and since he is older, and I'm not going to say no to that, but I'm going to talk about that more when we get into the fight. So with that being said, I feel like I've covered everything I need to cover for Bakugo, so why don't I cover stars and stripes. Now for Kathleen's section, just like Bakugo's, I'm going to be covering her AP first, and in terms of raw physical capabilities, we get to see a few feats from her that are impressive. Without the assistance of her group, Stars and Stripes was actually able to damage Shigaraki on a few occasions. Mind you, this was a Shigaraki who had access to all of his quirks, but wasn't fully complete with his assimilation. Now when she punches him with her actual fist, you could make an argument that she didn't leave any lasting damage, but when she made her air Susanoo, she definitely did leave some damage there, meaning that by herself she is comparable to some of the upper tier characters inside the verse when it comes down to AP. Up next we have her speed, and I mean she's able to intercept light, but for the most part she's shown the capabilities to blitz Shigaraki and intercept a few of his attacks, but it's clear that when he wanted to close out the fight, she couldn't really do anything. Now what I mean by she couldn't do anything, I mean physically she couldn't do anything, but she was able to perceive it and then make an order, and we know how that plays out. What we can gauge by the interaction is that when her top tier is moving at their fastest, she's able to perceive them, but physically she could not react. Up next we have her durability, and for this stat the only thing we have to go off of is her AP, and it will only pertain to the punch she gave Shigaraki. As a sort of raw strength, we can conclude that her durability should be around that ballpark. It's actually unfortunate for her, since she was going up against Shigaraki, someone who can one-shot anybody inside the verse, so we never really got to see her take any blows from him, but at the bare minimum, we should say she should be able to take some sort of punishment from high tier characters. Following up on her durability, we have her endurance, and this stat is completely unknown, as well, she doesn't really take any attacks. The only attack she took was the one-shotting blow. So we don't know what she can take, but we can theorize what she can take. The reason I say we should be able to theorize this is because people that are meant to be on her level, like All Might, Bakugo, Endeavor, Deku, and so on and so forth, are able to take a load of damage before going down. Even having weaker characters like Naitai who are able to endure these things that Star should be able to take, since she is portrayed to just be that tier above everybody else and be up on the tiers of All Might, Deku, and just all the strongest. So I doubt there's going to be a single soul out there that's really going to argue that Stars and Stripes may have great endurance. Now, I'm not going to say at what level she should have it at, but I'm just going to say that she should have great endurance overall and just keep it pushing. Up next, we have a battle IQ, and against Shigaraki, she does show us a few big brain plays, like with her being able to make the air around him disappear, her allowing him to take her quirk so she could kill him by allowing her quirk to run rampant inside of him. Her out with the fact that she was in the military as well, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that she has great battle IQ. So finally, we have a hack section, and it's only her quirk. Star's quirk is called New Order, and it allows Cathleen to have 2 rules that she can bestow onto anything. Now, there are limitations, as she can't make herself invincible, but the limitations of someone else or just things in general that don't pertain to people specifically are more expansive. For instance, she was able to make an air Susanoo, increase her strength and speed, she was able to make a certain amount of space in front of her disappear, she was able to hold lasers, and finally she showed us that she can make Shigaraki's heart stop completely if he moved. It's clear to say that her power is very flexible, but not some sort of god ability, as there are limitations, as it does seem that she does at least need to say what her next command is, and as I said before, she only has 2 commands. I wouldn't be surprised if she just says the command out loud just so she can be flashy, because the one time we didn't see her use it was when she was obviously setting up Shigaraki to obviously take her quirk, and then that's when she started to run rampant inside of it, and that's when she then said her command. But before that, she didn't say anything, it just happened, and then that's when she said it, meaning it's kind of 50-50. With her commands, usually she always has one on herself to make her stronger, so realistically she only has 1 command, but with how great she is at using her quirk, she can make use of it and make it seem like she has infinite commands if you don't pay attention. Also, one last thing, I do need to add that she does need to touch you for her to apply her rule onto you. You get to see this with Shigaraki, as if she was able to put a command on Shigaraki instantly, she would have, but instead she used the air because, well, we all touched there. But once you are touched and she says your name or just something you identify as, her rules wouldn't apply to you. But, and this is a massive but, if you don't identify with the name she gives you or just don't know who you are, then you can avoid those rules, as Shigaraki showcased. As we do know that Shigaraki did know that he was Tomura Shigaraki, but at that moment in time, he didn't know who to identify as, so that is why her quirk didn't activate on him. So, with that being said, I feel like I've said everything I need to say for both characters. If there's anything I've left out, I'll include it in the versus battle. So, why don't we see who's truly stronger? Is it America's #1 hero, Stars and Stripes, or is it the explosive hero, Dynamite? And when I first saw this fight circulating, I was perplexed at how people even thought this fight was even close. I thought it was a one-sided stomp until I went back, reread the manga and was like, wait, hold on, this person isn't as impressive as I originally thought they were, and the other is actually more impressive than I thought they were. And I'm going to be straight up, I thought Stars would absolutely destroy Bakugo until I went back and reread her fight and was like, yeah, she's really strong, but she doesn't have all the things down that I thought she had. And then when I went back and reread Bakugo's fights, I was like, wait, hold on, wait, the guy's a little bit more impressive than I thought. And so now you're probably thinking, Kosu, who the hell do you think is winning? And I'm gonna get there in a second, but you know what I have to do, I have to obviously simulate the fight. And let's just say Stars and Stripes makes it to Tokyo, and obviously Bakugo has seen her there, and for some reason he thinks that Stars and Stripes hurt his mother or something. I don't know, we just need a reason for them to fight, because realistically would they fight? No, but we're just saying they're gonna fight. So they get to boxing, and as I said in the rules section, they're going to be ending the fight as soon as they can. Now immediately they know a little bit about each other, mainly because, well, both of them are popular people. Katsuki Bakugo won the sports festival, and Stars and Stripes is goddamn Stars and Stripes. So yes, even if they haven't interacted with each other, there is going to be some sort of knowledge between them both. Stars has obviously seen his quirk, hasn't seen it of late, but she's seen his quirk in the sports festival, or has at least heard rumours about him. And then on top of that, Bakugo has heard things and obviously seen things on TV of her being able to just mollywop villains, and so he knows the basic premise of her quirk, and essentially both of them do have a basic understanding of each other's quirk. And you can even say that Bakugo is even more of an argument to know more about Stars, since, well, it says in this panel that everybody sort of knows how her quirk works but doesn't. So he does know that she can put rules on him, but he doesn't know to what extent. And so I could see the start of their fight really just coming down to both of them trying to figure each other out. But I'm gonna be very blunt here. Bakugo's ability is way easier to figure out than Stars. And there is a massive argument that Stars may actually just go the whole fight without her quirk even being known, since the only reason being Shigaraki found out about it was because of his regeneration. If he wasn't able to take all of those attacks, he wouldn't have known how the quirk worked. Shigaraki used himself as the perfect punching bag because he knew he could take all of the attacks, and even then he was about to die. And then on top of that, he was safe because of his own identity crisis. If it wasn't because of that, Stars would have won. And so I do feel like, yes, Bakugo does have the speed to obviously take her on, and I do believe she's going to be hit a lot before she's able to tag him. But exact same with Shigaraki, once they're able to tag you, then the fight is over. Bakugo doesn't have any of the nonsense that Shigaraki had to fall back on during their fight. And then on top of that, with Stars being able to obviously manipulate the air, and then with her being able to use the air Susanoo and everything, I think there is a path for victory for Bakugo. And I do think that on certain occasions she could lose to him, but I just think more times than not, Stars and Stripes is going to win, and it's mainly because Bakugo is going to have the speed, but Stars can still perceive him. And I do think over time she should be able to obviously clock him, and once he's hit once, it's over. Now don't get me wrong, if Bakugo is able to stay in that fight for a long period of time, then yeah, okay, he's gonna be able to figure her out, because Bakugo is extremely sharp, especially while in battle. But yeah, I do think more times than not, Star's just gonna be able to tap him and then be like, okay, yeah, cool, new order activate, yeah, let this kid move once, and yeah, just let his heart just completely fail on him. And mind you, this is the exact same Katsuki Bakugo who already has heart problems. I don't think he wants another heart failure or just anything to do with his heart again. So yeah, I just think that Stars and Stripes wins this mainly because of her hacks and her being able to just keep up with him in terms of perception, and then just over time with her being able to use a battle IQ and whatnot, being able to just tap him and then just, yeah, end the fight completely. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I did enjoy making this. I always love making My Hero content, and I will be dropping a My Hero video sometime soon. It will be around Deku and stuff, because I want to really focus in on his writing, since I think he is definitely one of the better written characters inside of, or shonen at least. So yeah, there isn't really much for me to say. My Discord is going to drop soon, since I want a place where all of us can just talk and shit. So yeah, that is coming, and I love you all. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for the support. And so yeah, I love you all. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.